So I'm going to get up. Let's see. Do you know what? I'm going to get Phyllis up first because Phyllis hasn't been in a box before. Phyllis is one of my clients and is a friend of mine. But I'm going to get her up and get Kelly up. Let's see what happens. So, Phyllis, you might see an invite or something around your screen. If not, oh, she's coming. She's coming. She's coming. Yes, she's coming. Phyllis, hello.
Hello. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Okay.
Well, welcome to the your first ever time in a box on TikTok.
Oh my gosh, yeah, totally. This is all new to me.
Well, we can hear you, that's the main thing. And just treat it like a Zoom call. That's the best way to describe it. Okay. Treat it like a Zoom call. Hey, Kelly, how are you, darling?
Hey, I'm fine. Sorry, I muted myself while Phyllis was talking because you know what I'm like.
I know. I have to mute myself all the time because I just will overtalk people all the time, as you well know.
Right.
But yeah, how are you today, Kelly? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. Had a long afternoon.
Okay.
Spent with a poor lady that just had her hysterectomy cancelled for the third time.
Oh, no.
So yeah, it was long, but I'm here.
You're here, and thank you for being here. Right, I'm going to do something very school teacherish, which is I'm going to just quickly read from the NHS website about the menopause, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you two to just kind of I'm going to ask you to just laugh at Hayley's comment, and I'm going to ask you two to sort of just give a little intro to yourselves and kind of how you come to the perimenopause and menopausal world. And then we are absolutely open to having some people come up in the box if you want to share stories or ask any questions about menopause. We don't have Zoe here who would probably capture your questions. So if you do put them in the chat and I miss them, just feel free to copy and paste it and repost it when I'm focusing on the chat. Or just request the box when we open it and you guys can come up. All right, so let's get started on, this is the symptoms of menopause. So we're going to start firstly with the common symptoms of menopause and perimenopause. So it says menopause and perimenopause symptoms can have a big impact on your daily life, including relationships, social life, family life, and work. And it can feel different for everyone. You may have a number of symptoms or none. Symptoms usually start months or years before your period stops. And actually, for this live, I'm going to call it your monthly Ps, just so we don't get in trouble, right? So symptoms usually start months or years before your monthly Ps stop. And this is called perimenopause. Changes to your monthly Ps are the first signs of perimenopause is usually, but not always, a change in the normal pattern of your monthly Ps, right? For example, they might become irregular. So that might be a first sign that you are starting to enter perimenopause. And eventually, you'll stop having monthly Ps altogether. So when we look at other symptoms like mental health symptoms, common mental health symptoms of menopause and perimenopause include changes to your mood, like you might have low mood, you might have anxiety, mood swings, and low self-esteem. And you might have problems with your memory or concentration, which is commonly referred to as brain fog. And then there are some physical symptoms. And so here are some of the common physical symptoms of menopause and perimenopause. And they will include things like hot flushes, and this is when you suddenly have feelings of hot or cold in your face, your neck, your chest, which can also make you feel dizzy. You might have difficulty sleeping, which may be a result of night sweats and make you feel tired and irritable during the day. You might also have palpitations when your heartbeats suddenly become much more noticeable. You might also have headaches and migraines that are worse than usual. You might have a changed body shape and start to gain weight gain. Your skin might change, so your skin might become dry or itchy. You might have a reduced sex drive. You might have some dryness in your fufu area. You might even have some pain in your fufu area, itching or discomfort during sex. And you might also get recurrent UTIs as well. You also, random one, might get sensitive teeth, painful gums, or other mouth problems. And how long can these symptoms last for? Well, it says here that symptoms can last for months or years, and they can change with time. So, for example, hot flushes and night sweats may improve, and then you may develop low mood and anxiety. Some symptoms, such as joint pain and fufu dryness, can carry on after your monthly Ps stop. And then it goes on to talk about contraception and stuff as well. I'm just going to leave that for now. So, was that fairly easy to kind of understand, guys, what I was saying? Yeah, so fun being a woman, says FYPT. So fun. CG says, I have every single thing that you've listed. Yes, okay, good. All right, so should we start with you, Kelly? Do you want to talk about... talk about your... Oh, you got there. Do you want to talk about your experience of this and sort of your knowledge in this area as well?
Okay, so hi everybody. I know some of you, I'm trying to keep up with the comments. I'm Kelly and I created Hysterectomy Support and Shared Experiences in 2013 after I had a hysterectomy. I kept my ovaries at the time, subsequently lost one. Makes it sound like I just dropped it, had it surgically removed, didn't just lose it. And my little lonely ovary held on for about 6 years when I suddenly, even with all my experience, put 2 and 2 together and realised what was wrong with me. And my main symptoms weren't that I felt crazy or nuts, just that I didn't feel anything anymore. I wasn't excited about anything. I didn't want to socialise. I didn't want to leave my house. So there's such a range of symptoms. Obviously, in my day-to-day work, I work with many, many people that are suffering with the menopause, and particularly those that have surgical menopause. So they can literally go from everything working great to having a hysterectomy, having their ovaries removed, and don't get that gentle perimenopause, menopause lead-in, it slams straight in. And I'm sure that anybody here that's got menopause symptoms, is perimenopause or in menopause, can understand some of the impact that has. I'm going to be really honest, I don't like menopause at all. It makes me feel old. I don't like the changes that it brings, but it is a natural part of life. And I just wanted to add on to those symptoms 2 of the other main ones that I get confronted with a lot, and that's changes to eyesight and taste, but now I'm on 3, and joint pain. And I can see CG there saying radical surgical menopause, and my heart hurts for those people because it's been hard enough having that gradual, I was going to say decline, but that's probably not the right word. The gradual going into it rather than bam. So that's kind of me. So yeah, I spend most of my days working with people that have hysterectomies, that have menopause, that have pelvic floor issues related to menopause. I spend a lot of time talking about foo-foos. I have yet to play the recorder through one.
We're not talking about my foo-foo right now, okay? I have got a special talent with my foo-foo. So, but we won't talk about that because these people are nice. Most of them don't know me, so they're like, what is she on about?
Okay.
But those who know. All right, thanks, Kelly.
Oh, believe me, we know.
Thank you. Right. If you go on mute for me a sec, bub. And then Lindsay, shh. Hey, Phyllis, do you want to unmute, darling? Hello, babe.
Hey,
So,
I'm
do you
here.
want to share with us a little bit about you? Because a lot of people here don't really know you, but also how you come to this sort of menopause world and your knowledge and history around that as well.
Okay, yeah. So, hi everybody. I'm very new to TikTok in that I've had it on here for a few years, but I never use it. Part of that's to do with a generational thing, I'm convinced of. But the other part is usually I'm too busy.
She is.
So I don't get round to doing it. So yeah, so my background is many and varied, but the main reason I suppose that I know quite a bit about the menopause is I'm actually a clinician. I'm an osteopath. I trained a number of years ago. I've been qualified 22 years now, and I teach as well as still see patients, but I teach women's health from the osteopathy world, as well as pediatrics. So I have had lots of dealings with many women who are either going through perimenopause and menopause, who have had problems through pregnancy, whose children are going through. I've forgotten what you've just got.
Yeah.
Monthly P's and the problems with all of that.
That's all right.
Yeah, I was just trying to remember. So I've been very much involved in that whole world around it. Plus, my own story is, again, many and varied. I had problems with my monthly P's from when I started at the age of 11 till way into, I'm very much postmenopausal now. But I had problems with polycystic ovaries that weren't diagnosed until I was in my 30s, my late 30s. By that stage, I'd already had 2 cystectomies, which at the time when I had them, they weren't done through your fufu. You were cut as if you were having a cesarean section. And I had my first one at 23 and my second one at 25. So there were many gynae problems. And as a result of that, I lost half an ovary on one side, or rather it was surgically removed, as well as damaged fallopian tubes, which also didn't help any of the hormonal stuff. And I started, I also had fibroids and polyps, and started having perimenopausal symptoms from about the age of 38, 39. And that went on well into my 40s, until my early 50s, when I actually then became menopausal. And usually they say you're menopausal, postmenopause, when you've not had a monthly P for a year. It varies as to whether or not the medical profession says 6 months or a year now, but I think it's gone back up to 12 months. So if you've not had a monthly P for 12 months, you're considered to be in menopause. That doesn't mean that your symptoms stop. And they do change, and they can go on for very many years. And even when you're postmenopausal, so in other words, when you've had quite a few years that you've not had monthly Ps, and I'm very much that at 61. And I think it's probably, I'm just trying to think, maybe 6 years since I've had any. I still get hot flushes. And I have got many patients who still have hot flushes. And I know of patients and family members who have had hot flushes in their 80s. So they're not as frequent, but there are various things that can set them off. And possibly, you know, if people want to know a bit more about that, I can give them. So mine's very much from that background, the medical background, my knowledge around it, and having dealt with patients who've got it. That, my own personal story, and that sparked my interest in trying to find out more and how we can deal with it. And so as a result, I created a course called Perimenopause and Menopause, the Holistic Way. So it's very much dealing with it from that point of view, mainly because of the fact that I've had so much intervention and decided that I didn't want to go on HRT. I also have another condition which isn't the best to have it. I've got lymphedema. It's primary lymphedema, so born with it. But it's one of those things that they sometimes say you're better off not trying to take HRT with it. I made the decision I wasn't going to because I'd already been on various drugs, which included the pill and other hormonal drugs. And so I said, and I posted very at the beginning, it wasn't facetiously that if we're lucky enough to go through it, I mean from the point of view that...
No, I knew what you meant. I knew what you meant.
Just in case.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, good. But yeah, definitely it's many and varied for different individuals, different women, as to how it affects them. And some people, if you say to them menopause, they said, what? And they've never even realised that they had symptoms. I suppose my biggest bugbear, and this is the last bit I'll say, is probably to do with the fact that a lot of people and the patients that I see would have gone to see their GPs because they start experiencing different symptoms. And I can list a whole load of other symptoms that actually are probably more common than people realise, but they don't necessarily associate it with it. But they go to their GP saying, I'm not sure whether or not, but I think I might be going through the menopause, or I'm having these feelings, etc., etc. And they usually get put on antidepressants before they need to, or alternatively they get told, no, we've done a blood test, you're not going through the menopause. You cannot tell by one blood test if somebody is perimenopausal or menopausal, because the whole point of it is it fluctuates.
So how does one know then that they are in perimenopause if it's not just done with a blood test? Is it blood test and symptoms and then a doctor would say you are, or how does that look?
You would have to it's the collection of symptoms as opposed to just a blood test. Also, I mean, definitely you take into account how the monthly Ps are, but there are a whole load of other things that can also affect that. But the fact a blood test alone can't do it, because you could take it in the morning and you could take it at the end of the day and you would have a difference in the levels of estrogen and progesterone that's there. And also, I always say they've not got, unless they had a baseline for you, then you can't really judge, because we're all very different as to what our baseline is. So, but as I said, it is the symptoms, and there's many of them that are with, and most of them are affected because of the fact that the estrogen works with the collagen fibers, and collagen, I'm not going to go into all the science because it would be too boring for it, but ultimately it's because of that we will get the dry skin, because collagen affects with that we'll get the dry mouth, we get the itching, because they're all of the collagen, any of those fibers that are affected will then cause the symptoms. So we might get a dry mouth, we might get dry frou-frou, we might get dry skin, all of those things. Our hair might start to fall out. That's another thing that you'll see a lot of women will start to get thinning hair. They also might, because of the testosterone levels, because those change as well, they might lose hair and they might get sort of like a little bit more male pattern baldness. So they might get alopecia ultimately. Again, that's one of the things that I suffered.
It's great to be a woman, isn't it? Fuck's sake.
So, yeah.
I mean, this is, itching. A lot of people saying itching is unreal, itching and dry mouth. Somebody asked earlier, does it ever end?
I think there's part of it. Does it ever end? Yes, there are some who really and truly don't have any other symptoms after a while. As I said, there are some women who will get mild symptoms. So as I said, at 61, I still get hot flushes, and I usually know what's triggered them, and that's usually stress. For me, is my big thing, that it starts to happen again, or and for different people, it might be, I don't actually drink, but alcohol is one of those things. It might be spicy foods. They can all be things that sometimes set it off. And and it'll be worse when you're in menopause or perimenopause, but sometimes you'll find that later down the years that you might still get some of those symptoms, and that's because we still have the hormones there. We still have the hormones and they're still fluctuating. But as I said, it's really difficult, and I don't even know that you can say that you're going to follow the same lines that your parent did, that your mother did, because it's often somebody, generationally, we're talking about it a bit more now. I know certainly my mum's generation didn't really talk about it. And it's really only more recently we've spoken about it. But it is, does it get any better? I think for me, it's a case of us embracing it's like starting your monthly Ps. This is just another element of life. And you have to see it as that's what it is. We're moving forward and trying to find your baseline of happiness and not dwelling on that negative side of things that is happening. I think that's part of what it is. Neuroscience, definitely. I won't, as I said, I wasn't going to get into the science. So, but definitely how there is definitely science that backs up your thoughts and help your actions and how you feel.
Thank you, Phyllis. That was awesome. By the way, if you're in the room, please make sure you give these two a follow. So you got Kelly on the left and Phyllis on the right. Make sure you give them a follow because they're very knowledgeable in this area. Both of these women I've worked with personally, and I've helped them create courses in their specific niches. And one of the things that we'll come on to with Phyllis is one of the courses that she's made is a course that is around approaching perimenopause and menopause from a holistic approach. And we'll get onto that in a little bit because we'll talk about HRT and holistic sort of options that there are. And that's really why I wanted Phyllis here to talk and to give the balance on both, because I don't know if, well, some people I think will only understand or know that of HRT and perhaps don't know that there are other ways that you can treat or live with menopausal symptoms. And also, as Phyllis has just said, sometimes because of maybe other medications you're on or other things that you have going on in your body, that HRT is not going to be available potentially for everyone as well, right? Now, if you want to come up in the box, I know somebody was in the box a minute ago, please request the box again and we will bring you up. What I would ask all of you is when you are coming into the box, please keep on topic, which is about perimenopause and menopause. Respectfully, I'm asking, please don't tell us your whole entire life story. We don't have a lot of time together. Like, come up, ask your question. You can give a bit of backstory, but please don't hog too much time because we want to get through as many people and answer as many questions as possible. If you've never been in a box before, please don't be scared. We are very friendly. We will be patient with you to get through and say what you need to say. I'm not going to rush you. But don't be afraid to come up. CG's like, oh, shut up. I want you to come up, CG. But this is just for everyone. Like, please just get to the point and not take too long because, I don't want to take too much of their time, but also we've got about another hour together as well. So just request the box if you want to come up. There was somebody in the box who was waiting before. Please request again. Cat Crazy, I'm bringing you up. And Teddy's Boots, I would love you to come up and share as well. Good evening, Cat Crazy. How are you?
Hello, good evening, everybody. Morning, evening. See, my brain's like it already. Oh, dear. The question I wanted to ask, I started my monthly Ps when I was 8 years old. And when I had my daughter at 30, I then stopped my periods and I didn't come back. Now, I went into menopause at 33. I had follicle hormone stimulating blood tests along with all the symptoms, and it came back. I went to see a specialist and he said basically, yeah, you're in menopause. So I then went on HRT till I was 50 and then had to come off it. And I felt so much better with HRT. I have to say it did cure a lot of the symptoms. But the question I wanted to ask, I wonder if one of the ladies may know, interestingly, the specialist said that because I started my monthly Ps so early, you're only born with a certain amount of eggs, and that was one of the reasons why I had my menopause so early. I'm not sure if that's factual or I've been incorrectly told that, but it was quite interesting.
I don't know where I've heard it. I've heard as well that we are born with a certain amount of eggs in us already, and then there's no more. That's the only bit I know. True. Kelly, do you know much about this, or Phyllis?
That you are correct that you're born with a certain amount of eggs. I'm not aware of any medical research that links how early you start your periods to when you have your menopause, but I haven't really researched it. But it's not a correlation that I've come across in my professional life. So Phyllis may well have different knowledge to that.
Yeah, it definitely is a case of you're born already with your eggs.
Yeah.
So as a fetus, when you're already, I mean, they often say your grandmother is the one who's got it, then your mother within them has it, and you have yours already. So you've already got the amount you're going to have. I've got to admit, I don't know the research on it, but I think usually if you have started that early, there is a medical reason, i.e. the hormones that they have started to stimulate early. So the likelihood is that you're probably going to be a bit earlier that you're going to start to go through the menopause. But I've got to admit, I don't know definitely, but I don't think they were steering you a blind one. I'm just so lucky I had
my daughter I fell pregnant at 29, so I'm lucky I had her, because otherwise I may not have been able to have her. Right. So it was so lucky. But thank you for letting me come in up. I just thought you may be able to clarify that, but I thought it kind of makes sense in a way, doesn't it?
Yeah. It does. And in terms of sort of like the HRT, if I can, I noticed I was trying to keep up with some of the comments. Somebody said they were scared of HRT. Now, as I said, I'm somebody who, as I said, I made that decision not to have it because I'd had a number of other medical interventions previously. But the HRT is very different to what it was 30 years ago, let alone 20 years ago. And there are different forms of HRT. There's biomedical ones. There's a whole load of different stuff that's out there now. As I said, very much I talk about the natural things that you can take as opposed to HRT. There are still some women who it is, they're told that you're better off not to take it, or it'd be contraindicated. So it's not a good idea for you to take it. You can also use a lot of the things that I suggest if you are taking HRT. It's just checking to see whether or not they're able to. But there are other things that you can do. Certainly that I do it. I burn essential oils rather than ingest them. I'm not into ingesting any essential oils, but I trained as an aromatherapist as well 30 odd years ago. Gosh. So I use a lot of essential oils, which can help change some of those mood, the way you feel about things. But it's also one of the big things that, boring as it may sound, is our diet. And it's making sure that we have a really good, varied diet. And that can also have a help. But depending what the other questions are, I can give some other ideas.
And if I can just add to that, because Phyllis obviously knows a massive amount more about the holistic, whereas I know more about the traditional. I just wanted to pick up on the comment that said, I'm scared of HRT. And I think some of that is a media thing. So back along, there was this whole, you're going to get cancer, you're going to get this. That's pretty unproven now. And actually what they're finding is the benefits, particularly from the estrogen, towards heart, bones, there's links with dementia. So I think you have to balance sort of the scare things that are still lingering out there. And there are contraindications. There are some people that can't. And in my world, I hear an awful lot that people with endometriosis shouldn't take it. And that's actually not true in some cases. Not all cases, but in some. So I've got a long history with endometriosis. and I use HRT because the risk benefit for me personally, and these are really personal decisions. I'm just really keen, as I'm sure Phyllis is, that everybody has as much information as they can to make the correct choice for them and to be guided by the person that they feel can put that together.
Yeah, totally agree with you there. It is very much a personal thing, and it's also being informed and getting as much information as you can about things, because yes, there was scaremongering, and it's a lot to do with the research that was out there, but people just cherry picking the bits from the research as opposed to actually looking at it in a holistic way, looking at all of them.
Absolutely. And it is quite an overwhelming, because, you know, I mean, lots and lots of people have multiple complex different health needs. Phyllis spoke about some of hers. I see a lot of them in these rooms, and it's very hard to pick out what symptom is to do with what. And you know, for me, I'm very ADHD, so I live a lot of my time in overwhelm. When I'm faced with different hormones, different choices, different information, and you go down that rabbit hole, a lot of people just want to literally put their head in their hands and go, oh my God, I just can't deal with this. So I think that's sometimes a barrier to people getting the support that they really actually need. And there's a lot of people that need support.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really. Oh, sorry, Remy. That's really true, and I think, you know, especially with the NHS in the way it has been. I'm hoping that there's going to be a change. I'm not holding on too hard to that, but it is getting the right help and being referred to a gynecologist or somebody that's used to dealing with the menopause, as opposed to your general practitioner, who can be absolutely wonderful, but they're general practitioners, so they're not specialising. So you want either somebody who has specialised in hormones, depending on how complicated what's gone on with your medical history, or hopefully a gynecologist. You know, that's one of the things, and it's being able to ask for that.
And Space Cadets just said the prescribing protocol of HRT has changed too. And I mean, I'm very lucky. We actually have a menopause nurse at my surgery, which I was ever so surprised to find, who calls up and is a really good checkpoint. But some people, unfortunately, will have to go armed with nice guidelines and their own research. And again, I know it can be a real battle to get something you need when you're dealing with that in the medical profession. And like Phyllis said, some are absolutely brilliant. I mean, I tend to march in now and just tell them what I need, but you know, it can be a battle, sadly, to be able to get the support that you need.
Thank you, ladies. We're going to jump to Teresa. Teresa, what is your question regarding perimenopause or menopause?
Hi there. I was just wondering if anybody had any advice on perimenopause alongside polycystic ovary syndrome, because I have like sort of both, and fibromyalgia, and I was just wondering, you know, like sort of any advice.
Do you want anything at the moment, Teresa?
It's took me 3 months to get appointments through my GP. I had to do blood pressure. They took bloods from me, and I'm just waiting on another review, so to see if I can be suitable to go on HRT, because that's the route that I want to take, because with everything else going on, it's all just it's just been a nightmare.
Phyllis or Kelly, any suggestions or thoughts for Teresa at all?
Are you finding that you're having more problems with the polycystic ovaries as you go into perimenopause?
It's weird,
Teresa?
because a lot of the symptoms can be very, very similar.
Very similar.
I would say they're more exasperated, like, you know, it's like,
Yeah.
it's a lot more intense because they put me on antidepressants sort of about 20 years ago. And they just don't seem to be having any effect on my hormones, you know, my moods, everything. I've got rosacea through. I think it's the hormone fluctuations. I'm just constantly hot.
Yeah.
It's just a nightmare. My sex life, bleep, life is just horrific.
Okay.
Oh, bless you.
Just everything, pain, frozen shoulder, just so much stuff going on. It's unreal.
It's an awful lot to manage. But yes, fluctuating hormones can affect the polycystic ovaries because obviously they're very hormone reactive. Keep your eye out for cysts, because a lot of people get a lot more of these nasty ovarian cysts, which are incredibly painful for anybody that's familiar with them. And it will be interesting to see what they say about the HRT, because again, the medical world is still quite split on where estrogen is of benefit versus risk, and polycystic ovaries is one of those areas. And again, I work with women that have made that risk balance decision and have done well, and some that haven't done so well. But I'm very much hoping that Phyllis jumps in here, because her holistic knowledge is phenomenal.
Hi.
Whereas mine isn't. Thank you, Phyllis.
On a personal note, because as I said, I had polycystic ovaries as well, and I say had, you don't really ever get rid of them, even when you're not producing sort of like, you know, the whole point of polycystic ovaries, for those who don't know, is that you produce additional cysts and they don't always release, because the cysts, that's where the eggs come from. It sort of like forms a little cyst on the ovary, and then the egg bursts free from that. And what happens with the polycystic ovaries is that you're producing lots of them, and you also, sometimes they stay on the ovary and just get bigger and bigger, or they go into other places in the cavity, in the pelvic cavity. And yes, definitely the menopause can have a real effect with it. And equally, as Kelly said, that they're in two minds as to whether or not it's more the estrogen driven or the progesterone side of it that's causing some of the problems for women with polycystic ovaries. And it is very much a personal thing. You have to see how it affects you. It's going to be very different for different women as to whether or not HRT works really brilliantly for them or not. The ways to try and combat some of the symptoms that you mentioned there are going to be the joint aching and things like that. Again, that goes back to the collagen. So it's trying to make sure that you have really good foods, like your spinaches, you're trying to have things like flaxseed if you can. It's really looking at your diet, keeping really well hydrated, which ends up being a bit of a pain, because one of the things, as well as you're going through it, is that your bladder isn't as good as it used to be. So it is training yourself. So it is trying to do the pelvic floor work, but it's also little and often. So trying to sip water throughout the day. And if you're at the moment, you're somebody who has, and I just say plucking it out of the air, you'll have 2 glasses of water a day. You don't want to suddenly go from that to go to 8 glasses of water. What you want to do is introduce half a glass and then another half a glass every few days, because the bladder will then get a little bit more used to it. You will still possibly, if you've got problems with incontinence, you'll still probably have those. But the reality is the amount that you're drinking isn't going to have that much of an effect on that to the negative. It will feel mentally, because you'll think, oh gosh, I'm going to wet myself or whatever. But actually, the benefits of having the water makes a real difference to the joints as well. So it's eating well. It's making sure you're nicely hydrated. It is trying to avoid too much alcohol. Sorry, ladies. It's trying to avoid things like the
Yeah,
coffee.
I do have a little bit of a
anything.
coffee problem. Not so much with the alcohol, but coffee,
Yeah.
I am a little bit. But I do drink water as well. And I am following a healthy
Right.
diet, but it's really,
Good.
you get so confused because polycystic ovaries is all based on inflammation as well in your body. So you look at certain
Yeah.
vegetables, and apparently nightshade vegetables aren't aren't good
So
in your
that's what I was going to say.
diet.
You want to
So
avoid
it's
any of
so
that.
hard to find that
Yeah. Yeah.
balance of really what you can eat. I think it's probably safer to go towards the more green side of vegetables.
Yeah. Definitely having that side of things. It is things like your
Peppers and
tomatoes and stuff like that
things.
that are more likely to cause, they're going to cause more inflammation. It's trying to go for some of the legumes, having some protein but not too much. It's balancing all of those things as well. As much as I know a lot about it, I'm not a nutritionist. I do know quite a bit about it, but that's
I'm actually under the
my
Tier 3
area
weight management group as well, so I am getting quite a bit of help from them as well, because I do have a weight problem as well. This has been going on for a long time, and it doesn't help.
The joy
Yes,
of the
definitely.
polycystic ovaries. You'll get a weight problem with that. It's difficult to lose weight with that. The other thing is movement. I usually talk about movement rather than just exercise, and that's strengthening the muscles that are there. So like you were saying about the shoulder, trying to get movement there. Unfortunately, it's more common in women who are overweight or diabetic, and over 40 tend to start to get problems with their shoulders. I've forgotten what it's called. There you are. See, I still get a bit of the brain fog. The words that won't come out. But doing sort of like really simple things like wall push-ups rather than on the floor, doing stuff like that really slowly and building that up gradually. It's getting all of the trying to do some gentle movement. So usually Pilates, but with somebody who you can say to them, look, I'm not looking to do the real outlandish stuff. I just want to get some strength there. Good old-fashioned walking. I always say to all of my patients, walking is the best.
That's better for me as well, due to the
exercise.
fibromyalgia. I do find the walking a lot more it's more achievable than, and stretches. I try and do stretches as well.
Definitely. And then mindset. So doing things like mindfulness or meditation, 1 minute meditations. I have loads of patients who say to me, I don't have time to meditate. I say to them, you've got a minute and that's all it takes. Even if you do it regularly, but it's taking your mind away from what's going on. It is not a case of emptying the mind. It's impossible. We're humans. There's always stuff going on. And as women, there's usually a lot going on. But it's taken away from what's going on at the moment and thinking of other things, and then acknowledging when something comes in, acknowledging that that's come in, and then letting it go away rather than concentrating on, oh my gosh, I was trying to meditate and now I'm thinking of all this stuff. So there are additional ways. A lot of the other stuff has said it's too much to go into.
Thank you so much for the advice. Thank you. I'll drop down now.
Thank you, Teresa, for coming up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa.
Emma says magnesium, ashwagandha and turmeric have helped a lot with her symptoms as well.
I've had great success with magnesium. I use a topical spray. It helps with my restless legs. I mean, I'm a chronic insomniac anyhow, but it's definitely helped my sleep patterns. And turmeric, I mean, goodness, I give it to my dogs for joint pains. I don't know why I don't think about doing these things myself, really. But
Mary's just asked, she says, this may sound mad, but if you take contraception, how will you be able to tell when this is happening?
Yeah, that's a hard one. It depends on what sort of contraception you're taking. you will start to notice some of the changes. They just might not be as obvious. And once you stop taking it, then you will notice them. It's the same way if you're taking HRT. Once you stop taking the HRT, you'll start getting some of the symptoms back again. So hormones are there, they're masking what's going on. So unfortunately, if you are on any sort of contraceptive, it is likely to be masking some of the symptoms.
Thank you, ladies.
I agree with that.
Michelle, hello. Sorry to keep you waiting. What would you like to ask or share about perimenopause and menopause? You can unmute, darling. Although she's been waiting so long, she's probably bugging.
Hello, girls.
Hi, Michelle.
Thanks for having me.
Hi, Michelle.
I'm 52. I've suffered with anxiety like a long time, so I know that. But I've been back and forward to the doctors lots of times. I've had 4 blood counts done, and they're coming back fine. And I keep saying to them, am I menopausal? And they said, the blood can't tell us that. And so they've said, I think you're depressed. So they've started me on sertraline.
Michelle, I hear this. Sorry.
No, I know.
Sorry, I apologise.
It's like, am I depressed or am I not? I'm so confused, and my body does hurt and exhaustion. And I'm taking this sertraline, and they've given me the patches, which has helped my bones, I must admit. But am I depressed or am I premenopause? The bloods are saying I'm perfect, but yet the last blood has said that my iron levels are high. I've never had problems with the iron levels. And I have got underactive thyroid. I have done since I was 11. So just wondering, what am I?
Well, I think some of the ladies, Kelly and Phyllis, have both sort of alluded to this at the beginning, that a lot of women kind of do get fobbed off by their GPs. Kelly, sorry, wanted to come in and say something on this. Go on, Kelly.
Obviously, I don't know your full background, Michelle, or when the sort of depression started, but I see it infuriates me how many women are put on antidepressants, which in some cases does help with the mood. It doesn't help with anything else if it's menopause related. In a lot of cases. So, but again, when you've got lots of correlating conditions, it's really hard to pick apart. And I think HRT is not a one size fits all. There's many different types. There's many different doses. It can take a long time to get right, very similar to antidepressants. And therefore, if you're using a multitude, for me, I think sometimes it confuses and masks what could be a lot of a simpler treatment if doctors really listened and understood and had a bit more training on this. So I can't actually answer your question as to whether you're depressed or not. And depression is a common menopause symptom, but it's a symptom of lots of other things as well. So I don't want you to sit there beating yourself up about whether or not you're depressed. I think the better question is, what is going to make me feel better? And blood tests aren't going to give you those answers. And Phyllis explained that probably much better than me, that they fluctuate. You can have a different result morning to evening. It's a more holistic approach to all of the symptoms when they start, what's getting better and what's not getting better.
It's just,
Totally, Michelle. It's really hard. I'm sorry to hear what you're going through, and you know, as Kelly's just said, it's really common. A lot of women will go through that, and that's what they will be given, an antidepressant. I would agree that really what you've got to think of, this is where you are, what can you do to try and turn things around, as opposed to whether or not you are or you aren't depressed. Also, the other thing I would say is that they need to be looking, the blood tests aren't going to tell you about the menopause, but you said that you had an underactive thyroid. Another thing that, unfortunately, to throw into the mix that tends to happen to women over 40 particularly, and or women who are certainly going through perimenopause and menopause, is they might have hyperparathyroidism, which is slightly different to an underactive thyroid. And again, similar symptoms to the menopause, but also depression and low mood can happen as a result of that. So it's what they're looking for. And it's really to do with this joined up thinking, and unfortunately us having agency over what is happening with us, and going back and saying, right, well, look, this isn't working, or this isn't making me feel better. What can we do other than that? As well as looking at what you can do for yourself. So, we don't know, it's not the space for us to find out what's going on in your world, but it's looking at all the other things that are there that might also be contributing to your mood, low mood, high mood, as well as the medical
I hope that
side.
helps, Michelle.
Yes, thank you very much, girls. I'll drop down. Thank you.
Take care,
Thank
Michelle.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
CG, are you free?
I am.
Yes.
Briefly. I don't know what it is about my kids. They see me sitting here wanting to overshare, and then they think, I know, let's fight.
Let's make mummy's life hell right now.
I've been making notes. I promise not to overshare this time, but if I do, Remy, hand signal, please.
Oh, well, I'll be like...
I just wanted to, I am what I've been writing in the comments. I am one of the lucky people who had radical hysterectomy due to ovarian C, which I overshared with you all last time. And so I didn't have any perimenopause symptoms. I just went straight, wham, bam, into the full shebang. And I had some questions about diet, because when I finish my treatment for C, I want to start trying to manage things alternatively, because at the moment I'm on venlafaxine, which is a type of antidepressant that I was put on to control hot flushes. And does it work? I don't know. I do still have them. I hate them. They're not as bad as they were maybe. But if I think about them, I have them. And if I'm having one now because I'm talking about them, but they're not quite as bad as other people seem to get. I don't have them at night anymore. And so I just wanted to try to do something after I finish my treatments, try to come off the antidepressant, try to get my normal self, try and find out what that is and do it through diet. But I know, just as I was waiting in the box, you've mentioned lots of things, or people have mentioned lots of things to try, because I can't take HRT because of the hormonal issues to do with ovarian C. So I just, all my questions were answered really while I was waiting, but I just wanted to thank you all. And again, spread a bit of awareness out there for anybody. Blowing the ovarian C trumpet again.
That's all right, you can blow that trumpet.
And sympathising with anybody else that's in my situation or has gone through surgical menopause, because it is not fun. And I'm only 41, struggling with self-esteem, appearance, things like that, weight gain, physical activity levels, things like that. So I'm just, sharing my side of it really. But thank you for...
No, thank you for coming up and sharing. A lot of people, will resonate with you and your story, and a lot of the people's story. And it is important that you guys do come up and share, and and take advantage of having people like Kelly and Phyllis here and ask questions. And I feel like it's a bit yin and yang. But what I love about Phyllis is that she takes the holistic approach, and it's everything. It's not just burning incense, as it were. It's looking at your mindset, it's looking at your movement, it's looking at what you're putting in your body as well. And so I just love that we get to share in this and learn from this as well.
But thank you. I just wanted to
And you speak really eloquently, CG, and I'm sure there's lots of people watching that might struggle to express it the way you express. And I
thank
just
you very
think
much.
you're
I don't feel
amazing
very
for being
eloquent
brave enough to come and share it. I know you don't, but
thank you.
You sound it, and
oh well, thank you very much.
I think you're amazing.
And yeah, I'll jump back down before
love
the
you,
kids burst
Susie.
through the door. I love you all too.
Thank you,
I'll speak to you
Susie.
later.
Hold on,
I was
CG.
just gonna say-
Phyllis is just going to say something. Go on.
Sorry, I was just saying thank you. Yes, you did speak very eloquently about it. One of the things that I would say is, as I said, certainly there when we're talking about essential oils, funnily enough, talking about burning incense, I'm going to go back to the essential oils. But those that you can probably use, and looking at them to make sure they're not ones that are particularly interactive with medicines. But jasmine is a beautiful oil that helps with stress, anger, anxiety, all of the things that help with depression. And I could have mentioned it earlier on for Michelle as well. And it's a great one that if you're able to mix it literally as pure as you can get. So I'm not going to mention brand names, but you need the pure stuff. And what you would do is you could mix that with a base oil of a jojoba oil or even olive oil, 10 mils of that, and a few drops, sort of like 5 or 6 drops of that with possibly ylang ylang. And just to have that in the room will start to lift your mood. What you could also do is put it on your pulse points. Just literally rub that into your pulse points.
Yeah, that's
And what was that
And
one?
that
Did
can
you say
help with that.
jasmine and
Jasmine and ylang ylang if you can get it as well. But jasmine definitely has less of an effect. And clary sage is another one, although sometimes that can be a little bit. But just check them out. Just check over that there isn't any, check with your medical side that they're not going to, even though they will say some things, but those definitely are one of the ones that the evidence, because there's evidence around aromatherapy oils as well now, that can help. I don't suggest ingesting it. I know there are some particular brands that say about ingesting it. I don't say ingest them. Definitely either burning them or putting them in your bath or in the shower if you're not a bath person. I often say to people the way to do it in the shower is literally to put it on a sponge that you put on the floor in the shower to one side, that the steam of the shower then will bring it up.
Yeah, that's a good idea,
great
because
idea.
getting out of the bath anymore is a challenge with my bad, dodgy joints. And I remember when I was pregnant, I had a bath with, or maybe it was after, with clary sage, and I've never had as good a nap ever after that bath. So I would recommend that one.
Yeah, definitely. Clary sage is another one. It sort of like helps fight depression, boost your mood, and relieves that stress and anxiety.
Right, I will jump down, but thank you all again, and I will speak to you
thanks,
soon.
CG, darling.
Bye.
Love you. Bye, darling.
Bye.
Somebody was just asking if I could remember something. Absolutely not. And this is why we need Zoe, because my memory is terrible. But what I will say, if any of these things that you are interested in that Phyllis has mentioned, please give her a follow and send her a message, because she has got this stuff for days and has material prepared and stuff that can help you. So just, follow Phyllis and reach out to her directly if you want to know like what oils are going to be good for what things as well. And also she has a whole course on perimenopause and menopause and dealing with it in a holistic way as well, which you can purchase, which has a lot of all of this stuff that she's sharing as well in there. So please don't be afraid to reach out to these ladies if you need to. Becky, are you on your best behaviour tonight, Becky?
Yes, I'm on my best behaviour. It's actually just a quick question. How long are you in perimenopause? Sorry, I have to speak too fast.
Yeah, say it again.
How long are you in perimenopause before you go into menopause? Because I'm 90% sure I'm in premenopause.
How long are you in perimenopause? Yeah, go on.
How long is a piece of string? Perimenopause can last several years, and equally it can last a year or two, because some people don't notice they're in perimenopause because they don't get too many symptoms until the sort of big bad stuff comes along and knocks them for six. Some people breeze through all of this, and I just want to point that out for anybody in the comments that might be panicking. Some people literally don't have more than the odd hot flush. So not everybody gets everything, but yeah, there is no time limit on perimenopause. It literally can be several years.
So how long's a piece of string, and it will vary from person to person. So
definitely. Typically late 30s, but some women unfortunately start even earlier than that. Again, it goes back to how many eggs you have, what your condition is when what levels your hormones were to start off with. And it can start, as I said, anytime from your mid to late 30s to your early 50s. Some women won't start perimenopause until their 50s, so it does vary. And it equally has been said, as we've said earlier on, it's very varied for everybody. Some women wouldn't even know that they've been through the menopause. They might get that hot flush, or you can actually get cold flushes as well. So so it's really difficult to say, and equally how long the menopause goes on for. So it varies for so many women.
Because I do sound young because I am really young, but it's very common in my family for everybody to start very young. Like my mum's 50 and she's finished menopause for like 5 years now. So it's quite common.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and there is a little bit that that usually if your mum was like that, then the likelihoods that you probably will be, but there isn't a direct correlation with all of it.
I did start the periods very young as well, so
right, yeah. So you might well do.
Into this because
but it's very,
it could
very
be not helping with all the other mental health issues that I've got as well. Because I've got a lot of mental health issues.
Right.
It's always fun to chat.
I mean, all of those things, that's those are the ways that what I was saying beforehand is trying to deal with that in terms of what's happening with your mood, how can you get that better, can you get help through coaching, counseling, meditation, doing all those other natural things, as well as possibly medical intervention. So it really is, it's looking at it in a holistic way. And as boring as I keep sounding and keep going back to that, I very much believe that that's what we need to do, is to look at things in a little bit more of a joined up way. What we tend to do, and how the medical profession is it's very linear, and there's not a lot of joined up thinking. And the way to deal with most of it is that joined up thinking and looking at things in how can we look at it in all sorts of ways. That going for a walk that I mentioned beforehand, that helps you for your bone health. It actually helps you for your mental health. If you go for the walk without necessarily having headphones in, just listen to what's going on around. It's all those things.
And talking therapies can also help. If you're really struggling, there's a growing emphasis again now on talking therapies. So that's an option. And Kerry, I'm just jumping back to the comments. Yes, there are different strength patches, is the simple answer. I believe they start, or certainly the Estravail ones start at 0.25. And I know they definitely go up to 0.75 because I had them when nobody could get any of the gel. So
no, that's all right.
Sorry to have changed the subject a bit, but if I don't answer it, I forget it because my brain
I've just
is
started
like a
writing them
sieve.
down. Thank you, Becky, darling. I'm going to drop you down.
Thank you.
So there's quite a few questions about libido, tips for getting your libido back, and then somebody else asked about will testosterone pills help with libido? Do either of you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, did you want to go first, Phyllis?
I was just going to.
I just feel like I'm jumping in every time.
Don't worry.
I'm packing my bags to go and live with Phyllis. That's what I'm actually doing right now.
You're welcome.
I'm moving in.
You come, girl. Testosterone. Okay, so some women, it is the reduction in the testosterone that has an effect, and that might help with some. And again, it's recognizing that one size doesn't fit all, and that's the same with any of this stuff, whether or not it's holistic or natural therapies or medication. It's going to be very, very different. And some women, testosterone makes a big difference for
massive
them.
difference.
Yeah. So it really is a case of trying it out and seeing. And sorry, I'm just going to say, because I noticed quickly somebody said there about tinnitus. Yes, that's one of the symptoms. That can be one of the symptoms. And again, that's because of that change in collagen and the soft tissues and how it affects the inner ear. That's one of the things that we think. And also the change in the fluid levels where you've got in the ear canal, the eustachian tube, the change in that. And that's why sometimes you can get tinnitus with it. And I feel, hands up to you. I know how hard it is. I get tinnitus as well, which got worse with the menopause.
And I second everything that Phyllis said about testosterone. And a lot of my audience is American, and they seem to be a little bit ahead on adding in the testosterone for those that are really suffering with their libido. And here, maybe a bit slower, but definitely seeing some good results. But I'd also add that, you've got a lot going on. And when that feels like an extra pressure, it's almost an immediate switch off. Dryness, I've seen questions asked about dryness, that, if you're in a situation and things just aren't happening and you're very conscious of that, that's a moment gone. And trying to explain that to somebody, a partner that perhaps doesn't understand all these changes, is another pressure. But there are vaginal fufu moisturizers out there. There's fufu pessaries. I'm sure there's holistic stuff that Phyllis might be able to help with on that side. But there's estrogen pessaries. There are things you can do to get rid of Sahara.
Fufu Sahara.
That's it. The fufu that won't play the recorder.
Love it.
And the gel I use estrogel. That's just what I found better. I've used patches. I wasn't as keen on the patches. I find the gel just suits me. But again, that's just horses for courses. Different things, different doses will suit people differently.
Yeah, and in terms of the fufu gels and pessaries, yes, you can get those, and there are different ones of those. You actually can also make your own natural ones using essential oils and either coconut oil and a number of things. Again, that's in my course telling you how to make those, and they're easy enough to make, and they can make the difference. Because the thing is, the reality is, if you're not feeling comfortable in your own skin, literally, you're not really going to want to be, having fun. And, I'm trying to think, how can I say this without saying
intimate?
Intimate, that's it. Thank you. You're not really going to want to be intimate. And it is, the big thing I would say, you need to have a discussion with your partner. And it's exactly as Romy was saying beforehand, men need to be in here listening to this stuff because they don't realise. You hear things about the male menopause. It is not the same. And it's having a conversation with your partner to let them know, look, there are other ways we can do this. There are other positions that we can get into. We can play all sorts of other things. And I use that word play advisedly, that actually is going to put you in a better frame of mind. And it's changing up positions, changing up what you do, maybe using toys. There's all sorts of other ways you can do things, as well as I said, making your own fufu pessaries or getting ones over the counter, all of those things. And as I said beforehand, with the oils to lift your mood, there's, as I said, ylang ylang, clary sage, a lot of those things will help lift mood, make you feel better. It's using some of that stuff as well. But it's also, taking some time out and realising that there's a lot of stuff that's going on, and that's why your mood isn't as great as it could be, as well as the fact that you're going through perimenopause and menopause.
And natural refined coconut oil comes up over and over and over in my group as a good lube. But also when I speak to women, you know, you're not just dealing with the menopause. That hits at a time where it coincides a lot of time with children leaving home, with parents getting older and needing care, with you struggle in your job and your career because your brain fog and your energy levels are just dropping. So holistic, we keep coming back to it, Phyllis, don't we? But
Yeah,
I think
totally.
we carry a lot at this time of life anyhow, and I think there's a lot of us that literally wake up one day and go, what do I do now? The kids are grown up, the parents are old, you know, I've not done as well as I wanted in my career, or I've done great, but I'm feeling the pressure of that.
And that,
I've got my relationship now because things are changing for me, but you know, he thought everything could be great when the kids left home. There's so many things that throw into the mix at this kind of time of life.
And I think it's, you know, it's realizing at this time, this is when you want those community, you want that community, you want your friends, a circle. You know, it might well be going into a women's group to just talk to other women. It might just be, you know, doing some stuff with your friends that doesn't have to cost a lot of money. And it could be having I mean, I'm a coach, so, you know, and a lot of the women I coach are going through that as well. But, you know, it could be having coaching, counselling, any other talking therapies. That might help as well. You know, and some of it is available on the NHS. Some of it is available through community centres. And there are some, you know, volunteer. There's groups out there that have volunteer and do pro bono work, as well as those that will do it, obviously, you know, that they'll charge. But there is stuff out there. We just need to be a little bit more broad in our thinking as opposed to linear. And unfortunately, the reality is the mind, when you've got a lot that's going on, you become overwhelmed and your decisions aren't necessarily the best. So it's trying to take some time out.
And it's hard. It can be hard to get out there as an adult, because I think this time of life can be quite a lonely time of life, because you know, you might be having things at different stages to your friends, or you can't connect, or you might have seen those friend sets drop off as life changes, and it's harder to put yourself out there. And I think it's really hard to build and break into friend circles at this age of life. It's certainly something I find much harder now.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, and the reality again of that is that if you're not feeling great mentally, you're not feeling great, that's not necessarily something you want to do, but it is something that you have to think about doing. And that's why I'm saying doing the things like the meditation, the mindfulness, doing stuff that quiets the mind a little, that you can then start thinking of these other things, and being in like-minded groups. So it's not necessarily, you know, feeling that you've got to go and do something that's going to make you feel, you know, flirty and sexy or whatever, but just something where you're going to just feel a little bit better about yourself.
Phyllis is saying, sorry, I'll interrupt.
Go, Emma.
So 13 years ago, I was diagnosed with inflammatory breast cancer. It was estrogen fed, so part of my treatment was that I had to have a oophorectomy, so I was thrown into full menopause at 32. So that's 13 years ago now. I take letrozole because obviously I have to stop any estrogen in my body at all, so within my fats and my muscles, etc. So I've had to go the full holistic approach, which Phyllis has spoken about a lot, and I know that there are a couple of ladies in the chat who have obviously gone down that road as well, whereby there's a lot of things that you can't take. So I've gone the full holistic approach, and a lot of what Phyllis has said, I've done. I take supplements, for instance, turmeric and magnesium has really helped with a lot of my symptoms. Ashwagandha has really helped with a lot of my symptoms. But the reason why I come up, Phyllis, is because there's one symptom that drives me absolutely cuckoo, and I haven't been able to find anything that helps with it, and that is feeling like you have ants crawling all over you, and you know exactly what I'm saying. And that's the skin tingling sensation, and literally feeling like you are being walked over by ants. It's horrific, and that's the only thing that really, really bugs me.
Yeah, that is one. That's an awful one. And that horrible, itchy, crawly feeling. Yeah, is definitely one of them that sometimes comes up. Usually, that one I have there are oils that you can burn. So sweet orange oil sometimes helps, and also you can try rubbing that in if you're not irritated by it, because again, it was one of the ones that I would say you have to be careful that, and I'm assuming where you're talking about, it's not going to be exposed to the sun, but you want to avoid anything being exposed to the sun. But it also helps with the inflammation, reduce inflammation around there. And it's said, and this is one where you'd make the pessary, and it's one of those that they say helps with foo secretions, which is part of the problem, that it's not secreting. You haven't got enough. It's dry down there.
I get it on my body. It's like my arm.
Right, and on the body, what I would say is that you'd mix the oils and then you'd rub it over there. Not lots of it, but just, or have it in your shower or in the bath. But the other thing, which is one of the ones that can really help, and this is meditation.
I do that though. I do guided meditation and everything that you've said. A lot of it I already do. Right. So the guided meditations and things like that. Because they've really helped with the anxiety side of the menopause and stuff like that. So I do that.
Right,
And ladies, you can find brilliant guided meditations on YouTube. There's loads on there.
Have you tried tapping?
No, I've not.
EFT? That's the other thing that I was going to suggest, because I'm actually an EFT therapist as well. So that's one of the ones that can sometimes work, is EFT.
Right.
Freedom technique.
I'll look into that. I have added you, Phyllis, so I'll probably send you a private message. But I just wanted to know if about that tickliness, the ants crawling everywhere, because that's one of the main things driving me insane.
That is one of the horrible ones as well.
All right, thanks ever so much, ladies. Thank you, Remy, for doing this.
Thanks for coming up, Emma. Oh, you're very welcome, darling. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, babe.
Phyllis, I've actually just want to pull up a couple of comments for you. A couple of people have asked where they can find
You're taking all my
courses.
questions, Kelly.
And I'm sorry. I told you I need to sit in a corner with my finger on my mouth. I do it every single time.
No,
I'm just going to sit here. Well, I'm probably not, but I'm going to try and sit quietly.
You're fine, darling. Look, a couple of things, right? You guys are going to message Phyllis. She might not respond straight away because I don't know if she even knows where to find her messages and stuff yet. But the other thing is, I'm going to go out on a limb and say your website is probably not in your bio yet, is it, Phyllis? No. Because Phyllis has got courses and stuff that you can buy. And the best bet at this point, just because she's new on TikTok, is to send her a message. Once she gets the message, she can send you a link to the holistic course as well. That's probably going to be the best way to manage it on this app, I think, until we get you sort of set up properly. Because your web address is quite long, isn't it? We can't really just give it out because it's quite a long URL.
Yeah. I don't even know. It might have changed on there. I'm not even sure.
So I think...
You know how rubbish I am at this.
So I think the best thing is, if you are interested in finding out about her course, just send her a message. I'll help her with the back end stuff. And then when we respond, or when she responds, she can send you a link to it. That's going to be the easiest way, because nothing's set up really. It's just she doesn't really use TikTok, so that's why. And then the other question, somebody asked about itchy scalps. Any ideas on what people might use from a holistic point of view, like itchy scalps?
Again, that's because it's the same thing. It's dry skin, and it's making sure that you're really well hydrated, trying to avoid those things that will dry you out, i.e. alcohol and coffee and a lot of tea. And you can use essential oils mixed with either argan oil is a really good one for the hair anyway. But you in limited amounts, because obviously you don't want it to be too greasy. But the time to do it is when you wash your hair, to do it after there with your conditioner, and to mix any of those essential oils that I've mentioned beforehand, like the sweet almond oil. Carrot seed oil is a great one as well. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Jasmine probably because it smells lovely, and I'm just trying to think of the ones that I know don't interact with too many things. But those are probably carrot seeds.
And
Probably quite a
Nikki's
good one.
written in the chat, avocado shampoo and conditioner helped them.
Yeah, it's trying to keep things as natural as possible. So trying to avoid those ones that have got all the parabens, all the rest of it in there. If you can make your own natural oils, that's brilliant to do it. It's brilliant to do stuff as naturally as you can. And also, boring as it is going back to the diet, trying to keep your diet well, you know, having maybe sort of like salmon, fish, trying to avoid too much meat, avoiding processed foods, you know, vegetarian stuff. So sort of like quinoa, as I said, the legumes, things like that. It's really trying to keep things as pure and natural as you can.
Yeah, absolutely.
That all of that is going to help.
Tarot Medium Kelly asks, how do you know when to stop taking HRT?
Well, again, the research now is showing that we need that much further on than what was previously thought, and that it's still quite useful well into sort of 60s and beyond, and sort of for a minimum of 10 years. So again, there's no finite time that I can, you know, and I wish I had a crystal ball because I'd be a fucking millionaire, because it all sounds so sketchy. But once you've not had any symptoms for, say, a year, maybe a little bit more, then I think these days the idea is that you reduce the dose gradually. You don't just stop taking it, because even way beyond menopause, your ovaries, for those that still have them, still produce a certain amount of hormone, a certain amount of estrogen, and that's not the only hormone system we have in our bodies. They all work together in really clever ways, and each one affects the other. So yes, certainly not until you've been sort of symptom free, and certainly not immediately if you've been on it for a prolonged time. And it's a great question, because like it's not one that I'd even considered myself. I just slap the stuff on and I'd bath in it if I could.
Yeah, it is very much one of those, again, it's going to vary with the individual, and being prepared to gradually almost like wean yourself off of it to see whether or not symptoms come back with a vengeance. I actually had a friend who was on it for 15 years and decided at the age of 68 to come off of it, and within 6 months went back on, and at 74 is still on it. So, you know, it varies very much depending on what your symptoms are like, what you're prepared to put up with. Because the reality is that if you are on HRT and you stop taking it, but there is still, because we still, as I said at the very beginning, we might have hot flushes, you know, well after we're postmenopausal, because of the fact that, as Kelly's just said, we still have hormones and they're still interacting with other things. So you might well find that when you come off, you've got a serious, you know, you've got symptoms, really, really severe symptoms. But some women won't have any, and it's stopped it in its tracks. So it's each individual. You've got to judge and see how you're feeling with it. But yeah, I would definitely suggest that it's not a case of I'm taking it this week and next week.
Right, that was really helpful. Thank you. Somebody just said they they can't message you due to your settings. So don't worry, don't panic. It's fine. If anybody does want to, for starters, make sure you are following Phyllis and make sure you're following Kelly. That's as a start. We'll look at her settings and we'll get that sorted. But in the meantime, if you have any direct questions, particularly about her course or anything, if you can send it to the account Melons to the Wind, who are, thanks for the hand heart, send it to Melons to the Wind. Thank you so much, Kelly.
Thank you. I'm new to TikTok as well, so I can see Phyllis's gifts, I can see mine, I can see Remy's. It's all new to me, but we are seeing them, and I know I speak for all of us that we're very grateful, because I'm sure that Phyllis, the same as me, puts everything back into the mission that we're on. So, and I know Remy does, because we're all sat here in her room.
Absolutely.
On her live.
Yeah, make sure you follow both these ladies. Make sure you follow me if you're new here and you haven't given me a follow yet. We are doing Women's Health every Thursday at 7 p.m. Melons to the wind.
It's Tuesday.
Oh,
It's Tuesday.
No, because
are we moving to Thursday?
Brain. I just don't know where
difficult
I am.
for me. Yeah, please can we keep Tuesday?
I just got the day wrong. So if Melons to the Wind, if you want to get a message or you're interested in getting calls, Melons to the Wind basically is my right arm, and she is very organised. Thank you, Gal, for the follow. She's very organised and can just if you have anything or you want to buy Phyllis's course or learn more about the natural course, then just send it to Melons to the Wind. Hopefully Phyllis will get her settings sorted, today or tomorrow. But just in case you want to message somebody now, so that you don't forget, just send it to Melons to the Wind. That's her account. She's not in the room right now, but we'll get those messages to Phyllis as a stop. I just don't want anyone to miss an opportunity or forget tomorrow to then. She's my PA basically. What do you say, Kelly?
And I've already had a chat with Remy, so I do have a link on my bio, and my inbox is open because Rem sorted that out for me.
So we are going to wrap. I just wanted to say a massive thank you. Actually, before we wrap, let me know in the chat what you thought about this live, if it's been helpful, if you've learned anything new. Let me know what you thought, because I'm going to screenshot some comments. I'll hide your names, though, so don't worry if you want to write something. But I do want to say thank you to Kelly and to Phyllis for giving up their time tonight to come and do this and share their knowledge with you all. And thank you to all of you guys for asking questions and being really engaged with this. I'm glad you found it really helpful. And do you guys, just to get a feel for the room, do you think it would be helpful to do another Menopause live next week, or move on to another topic? Because I know a couple of people have come in late and missed it, but let me know if you think it would be helpful to have another Menopause live or not. Sorry, I'm just screenshotting right now, bear with me while you lot type in. Have you two enjoyed it, Kelly and Phyllis?
Yeah, it's been great. Thank you for being so engaged, everybody, and asking some great questions. And it's been lovely to listen to Kelly as well. So,
yeah.
And likewise to Phyllis. I see Phyllis around. I'm sure we've been in groups, and I'm sure we're Facebook friends as well.
Right.
And I'm sat here thinking we should have connected closer a long time ago, but we'll remedy that. But thank you for having me here. It's been absolutely brilliant, and as ever, you've been amazingly engaged, and it's really felt a useful, safe, nice, lovely place.
All I know is I miss Zoe tonight. I miss Zoe. Come back, Zoe. She's out. She's having a lovely evening with her son, which is important. But I just she does a lot for me and helps me out a lot, and so obviously I'm managing the boxes, but I'm also managing the comments. I'm watching for dickheads coming in the room who want to cause problem and trying to block those. So I'm trying to pay attention to you guys, but I'm also trying to admin as well. But anyway, thank you everyone for being here. Thank you. I really appreciate you all. It's been a really lovely live. I'll try and post some clips once this does its thing and does some auto clips, and I'll try and post some clips so people can see. Flaps has got the door. Thank you, babe. Thank you to the mods as well. Thank you for helping out. I really appreciate you all. So every Tuesday 7 p.m. we will do Women's Health. So we might do another perimenopause and menopause next week, because there were so many questions at the beginning that I know I missed. And that's why Zoe would have caught all of that, and then we could have continued talking about those. And unfortunately, when this ends, we lose all the comments. There's no way to save the comments. And so we might do this again next week because it's such a big topic, and I know that lots of people have questions and more questions. And if these two lovely people don't mind coming again next week, then we would love to have you. But I'll check in and see what your schedules and stuff are like for next week. And then Thursdays we do the parenting live, and my wrist. This Thursday we are talking about we're talking about milestones. So whether it's first steps or graduation, if you want to come and share some really wonderful milestones that you've had as a parent, then you are welcome to come and join us on Thursday at 7 p.m. So that's what we're talking about this week. So memorable milestones. So thank you everybody for being here and for showing the love. Thank you everyone who's tapped the screen or sent a gift. It's very much appreciated. And I'll be back tomorrow at 12 p.m. For my FYP show. And so everyone, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you soon. All right. Good night, everybody. Bye, Phyllis. Bye, Kelly.
Night.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.